Ma'am, si Ira Mendoza po, ma'am, hindi daw po siya maka-join. Couldn't connect you to the video call.
Wala. Ano bang gamit niya? Bulso account, ganun. Kasi walang lumalabas sa akin. Try mo ka mo na na i-refresh. Hindi ko masabi eh. Hindi ko alam yung gagawin. Kasi, teka,
Naka-bulso account daw po siya, tapos na-refresh na din daw po.
hindi ko alam kasi wala naman akong pinindot. Try kong, alam mo ba yung email niya? Sabihin mo nga, yung email niya. I mean, i-type type mo sa kanya tapos i-copy. Try ko mag-add people, mag-invite, ganun.
Okay po, ma'am.
Type mo dito. Ano pangalan niya? Ira.
Iramay.mendoza.p at bulso po.
Teka. Ira May. Pamintuan? Siya ba yun? Punong Bayan? Sino ba siya doon? Ira.
Mendoza po, ma'am.
Ira May Mendoza. Ira May .mendoza.p at pulso.edu.ph.
Yes po, ma'am.
Try natin. Pasabi sa kanya na nag-send ako sa email. Try niya kamo. I-refresh niya muna, tapatayin niya muna lahat. Tapos try niya. Pag hindi pa din, hindi ko na din alam kung anong gagawin. Try niya ng ibang email. Pag hindi pa din yon, try niya ng hindi email. I-add na lang natin siya. Okay, so let us begin our discussion. While waiting for Ira. Our discussion for today is the Unit 3 Organization and Management of Learner-Centered Classrooms. So let us begin first with the first lesson of Unit 3. So Lesson 1, Forms of Learner-Centered Classroom Organization, Procedures, and Physical Structure. Before we begin the discussion, I have a question for you. If you will arrange your classroom, how will you arrange the chairs and tables? Now, I have here 4 pictures. Meron tayo na, as you can see, in the first picture, meron tayong pairs, meron din tayong traditional, meron tayong stadium, and meron tayong runway. Again, if you will arrange your classroom, how will you arrange the chairs and tables? Now, I'll be stopping my share screen, and I want to see you. Okay? May I ask, you could raise your hands or type in the chat box your answers. Okay nga. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Do you want it the traditional way, yung by pair, yung runway, or the stadium? How will you arrange your chairs? Anyone? Yes, Ma'am Azucena.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. I choose, ma'am, yung number 4.
Runway. Yes.
Yes po. Para po pag halimbawa nagtuturo na po, nung nakikita ko yung mga estudyante ko, then pwede akong lalakad papunta sa likod, then harap naman po ulit.
Okay, thank you. So tama, pag nagtuturo si Ma'am Azucena, talagang minomonitor niya, pupunta siya sa likod, pupunta siya sa harap, mas madali niyang nakikita pag nagtuturo siya. Thank you, Ma'am Azucena, for that. How about the others? Okay, kayo, Jovel at Yensa.
Sa akin po, ma'am, yung pangatlo po.
Pangatlo, the stadium.
Kasi po, pag kanyari po nasa ka na po classroom, pag alternate po pag nakaupo na po yung bata, edi naka-alternate po yung mga, naka-alternate po sila, madali po para sa akin silang makita. Ganun po.
Okay. Mas madali sa'yo pag stadium. By the way, my dear students, pag po kunwari magre-recite kayo sa akin, huwag nyo na ibaba yung hands. Kasi nakalagay dito, mamomonitor dito kung sino yung unang nag-raise para yun ang una kong matawag. Tapos sunod-sunod. Kaya, I know, tinanong ko kasi, sinabi ko kasi yun doon sa kabila, sabi nila, ma'am, baka po kasi nakaka-offend na may nakataas na kamay, while Hindi, sa Google Meet, huwag niyo pong ibababa kasi makikita natin yung kung sino yung sunod-sunod para lahat kayo matawag. Nicole Robles, how about you?
Ako po yung number 4 po, ma'am. Kasi po nung grade 12 po kami, may isang subject po kami na ganun po yung arrangement po. Tapos po parang ano po, pag po nagdi-discuss yung instructor po, lahat po talaga sa amin nakikinig po. Kasi po nakafocus po lahat kay ma'am. Kasi po nasa gitna siya. Tapos lumalakad-lakad siya. Tapos lahat po kami nakakapag-recitation.
Okay, ang ganda ng sinabi ni Nicole. Kasi based on her experience, it works for her and her classmates. Thank you, Nicole, for that. How about you, John Zyron?
Yung 2 po, ma'am.
Yun too, okay.
Kasi po yung kahit nasa gitna lang po yung teacher po, nasa harap lang po siya sa gitna, ay kita na po niya lahat ng estudyante po niya.
Okay. So kasi aside from din doon, sa sinabi ni John Cyrus, nakita ni teacher lahat, kita din si teacher ng lahat ng estudyante. Okay, sige, tama. Thank you, John Zyron. How about the others? Nagsibabaan na yung iba eh. Yes, Riza Menjola.
Yung 1 na lang po, by pairs po. Doon po
Okay.
sa picture makikita po na may dalawa pong space pa kung saan pwede pong maglakad-lakad yung teacher kung mag-discuss po siya. Tapos naiikot din po niya yung estudyante niya. Tapos kung magpapagroup po yung teacher, madali pong mahahanap or mas magkakadikit po yung kaklase. Tapos pwede pong magbigayan ng idea yung dalawa pong magkakatabi ng
Okay, academic. Yung sinasabi naman ni Risa is magbigayan ng idea, hindi ng sagot. In a way na pag, kunwari, may mga group activities sila, mas madali siya sa brainstorming. Okay. Thank you, Riza. That is a good answer. How about the others? Sige nga, meron pa po ba? Yes, Marilu.
Ma'am, yung number 1 din po, tradition. Ma'am, kasi po yung traditional po, kung ako po magiging teacher, magkatabi po yung girls and boys po. Tsaka
Bakit?
po, para po hindi ganang magkwentuhan.
Okay.
may hiyaang mangyayari po. At saka po yung teacher po, pwede rin naman pong lumakad sa gilid, sa gitna, tsaka sa isa pong gilid. Saka nakikita niyo lahat yung mukha ng estudyante. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That is a good answer. Okay. So nakakatuwa naman yung may girls at boys para medyo mahiya. Although sa panahon ngayon, minsan parang hindi na ganun, Parang hindi na sila nahihiya sa girls versus boy. Parang they are comfortable with the opposite sex na compared before. Naranasan ko yung sinasabi ni Ma'am Marilu, parang alanganin, parang hindi mo parang nakakahiya, nakatabi mo yun, parang ganun. Pero ngayon, it's different na. Okay. But still, that is a good thinking. Iba naman kasi, tahimik, ayun, di ba? Dahil medyo, ilangan. Okay. So the thing is, that you have mentioned your preferred. Okay? Your preferred, so you mentioned your preferred teaching strategy classroom setup. So I myself, I prefer the runway. Pero kagaya ng sabi ng iba, meron pa U-shape, meron dito sa part na to. Pairs, of course, is very normal. The traditional is very normal din. Kaya lang, for me kasi, I usually have a lot of activities in a class. So for me, this works for me. And the reason why you chose 1, 2, 3, or 4, it is because you are envisioning yourself na mas makakalakad ka dito. May ibang teacher, mas gusto nila ng ganyan, lalakad sila dito. May nakakapasok dito, nakakapasok dito. Mas gusto nila yung by pairs kasi yung naiisip nilang mga activity is usually by pairs. Now, for the traditional one, some teachers, they would like to have a traditional one because it's easier to control the noise. And aside from that, some students are easily distracted if may katabi sila. Kasi they themselves, when they were younger, distracted sila. This one, the stadium, I'm not familiar with this. I'm familiar with this kind of setup. Pero sabi ko, ito yata yung ayaw ko kasi ang hirap niyang i-maintain, the stadium. But then again, sabi ko, bakit kaya may mga nagsa-stadium pa? And one of the students answered, one of the students in in Filipino answer. Sabi daw niya, ma'am, stadium. Sabi ko, oh, bakit? Bakit stadium? Of all the, hindi ko mag-gets yung stadium. Sabi ko, bakit ikaw stadium? Ang sabi niya, ma'am, di ba ma'am sa cinema? Di ba ma'am sa cinema, nakafocus ka dito sa harap? Sabi ko, ay, oo nga, no? Yung sounds, yung pag-travel ng sounds, and also yung nakikita ng mga bata. And it's easier. Kasi sa runway, I love the runway, pero ang problema is, pag magkakaroon ka na dito sa board, during the discussion, napansin ko, kasi nga puro ganito yung trip ko. During the discussion, free ka dyan si teacher, ikot, check, lalo may mga worksheet, so makikita mo sila, or pag may mga nagpe-perform, nandito lang sa harap. The problem is, kapag nagle-lecture na, dito sa part na to, yung mga bata nakatingin dito, yung baka nababali na yung ulo. Okay, so may mga kanya-kanya. But then again, you chose that because that works for you, which is good also. Now, I have here 2 questions, and you could choose one. It's either 1 or 2. Now, the first question is, what do you think is the meaning of academic noise? And the second question is a quiet classroom necessarily favorable for learning? Sa tingin niyo ba, ang question number 2, ang sinasabi niya na, pag mas matahimik ang classroom, mas lalo kang gaganahang mag-aral? Okay? Okay, yun. So yun, that is my 2 questions. You can choose just one. Just answer one question. Sige, nakita niyo pa yung grades ko. Sorry. Okay. Sige nga. You could answer either 1 or 2. What is academic noise? And the second one is from the word itself. Okay? Yes, Riza Menjola.
For me po yung academic noise po, yung kapag po para kompetensya po yung mga kaklase mo kapag nagsasagot, paunahan po, ganun.
Okay. So yung kompetensya in the positive, competitive ang bawat estudyante because they want to recite. Okay. Thank you, Riza. How about Cassandra?
Yung mas tahimik po, ma'am.
Mas gusto mo na mas tahimik. Bakit, Mary Cassandra? Can you
Para
elaborate?
maintindihan po ng iba. Kapag po kasi maingay, yung iba po hindi po ganong nakakaparinig. Kapag po tahimik, mas maintindihan po nila. Pero depende din po sa kanila. Sa kanila po yun.
Okay, so depende daw sa kanila yon. Okay, I do understand. May mga, Mary Cassandra is actually referring to some of the students talaga, they don't like noise. And I do understand. Minsan talaga mahirap mag-aral pag maingay. Okay? But there are times, tama rin si Risa, na mas masaya kapag may kompetensya yung mga tao. Now, since no one is raising their hand, I'll just share what other sections said that I think is actually very practical. Some of them, tawan-tawa ako sa Filipino major at saka sa BTVTED. Sila kasi magkasunod kong estudyante. Sa Filipino major, karamihan sa kanila, dahil sabi nila, they are easily distracted by the noise. So they want, kagaya nung kay Mary Cassandra, gusto daw nila tahimik. So lahat sila puro tahimik. Tapos, eto nandun ako sa BPED. Sabi nila, ma'am, mas ano po ang learning kapag maingay, na academic maingay, parang gano'n. Sabi ko, alam nyo, nakakatawa because paano magkakalikuran kayo ng klase? Tapos imagine yung Filipino sobrang tahimik, tapos kayo sobrang ingay. So siguro magkakagalit kayo. Yung mga ganun, kasi they are really teachers. Ako, honestly, I love academic noise because I'm not that kind of person na, I prefer activities, learner-centered workshop, lagi eh. So lahat puro activities kami. Pero tama naman yung sabi ni Mary Cassandra that sometimes it's mahirap mag-aral and of course, it is a distraction to other people. That as a teacher, we need to minimize the distraction. Okay? So, may mga positive. Pero yung sinasabi ni Riza Menjola na mamaingay, may kompetensya, ay, alam nyo, napakasaya. As a teacher, like for example, we have an activity, tapos yung ingay nila, yung ingay na they are very competitive with each other, hindi yung daldalan, that is very rewarding for me. Na parang, ay, successful yung naisip kong activity na gustuhan ng mga bata. Tawa sila ng tawa, gusto nilang mag-recite, ayun. And aside from that, yung isa naman, ito isa sa magandang nasabi na nakuha ko within this week. Sabi ng isa, ay, ma'am, ayoko po na tahimik. Sabi ko, bakit? Kasi kung ma'am, pag po tahimik, pag parang nag-excite po ako, sa akin po nakatingin. Pero, pag gaya doon ng sinabi ni Liza, pag naman po ganun, edi hindi po ako napapansin. So, some students, they prefer nun kasi nga parang pag mali ka, alam na mali kasi wala nga nag-decide. Okay? So, anyone who would like to add something before we proceed with our discussion? BTVTED, konti na lang kayo, ha? Dapat mas use this opportunity para to voice out your opinions in your mind hanggang pwede naman. Okay? Anyone from BTVTED? Okay, sige, maybe bawi. Sige, yes, RJ. Ayan, si RJ.
Habol na lang ako, ma'am. For me, ma'am, number one. Kasi, for me po, kapag masaya or yung maingay, hindi naman po yung ingay na magulo. Kasi pag maingay po, yung may ingay po, kagaya po nung sinabi nila na kapag maingay, yung may competition, ganun, competitive yung mga estudyante, doon po na i-express ng mga estudyante yung nila, yung gusto, nawawala yung hiya nila, ma'am. Yun po, ma'am.
Okay. So, kay RJ, okay lang din daw yung academic noise because mawawala yung hiya ng mga bata. Okay, na i-express ang kanilang sarili. So, thank you, RJ, for that. And hindi ko na kayo pipilitin because you will have another chance later. Okay. So now, forms of learner-centered classroom actually is organization, procedures, and physical structure have 4. So we have the room structuring, classroom routines and procedures, and the social environment. Now, and last one is creating motivating learning environment. Let us begin with the first one. What is a learner-centered classroom? I know students that you will say, Ma'am, learner-centered classroom na naman. Lagi na lang pong yan. Ulit-ulit ka na, ma'am, ha? Okay, some of you pwedeng ganun. Kasi, but even if ulit-ulit si Ma'am Dayan, what I want is to learn what a learner-centered classroom is. Okay? It focuses primarily on the individual's student learning. Teacher's role is to facilitate growth by utilizing students' interests and unique needs as guide for meaningful instruction. Before sinabi ko na sa inyo yan, and as a teacher, we need to ask our students, why do you want to learn? Or what are your hobbies? Baka kasi magamit natin yan. Okay? I remember, I think I told you that sometimes, for example, you will use their favorite characters or you will use the names of their favorite boy bands. So, na yung mga bata, sasagutan ko nga ito kasi favorite ko siya. Parang may mga ganang mga bata. And honestly, I heard that kind of stories with some of my students. And aside from that, I have a classmate. Favorite niya yung color blue. Kaya every time na color blue yung ginagamit ng professor namin, college na to ha, every time na color blue, mas attentive siya. Because sometimes yung mga colors na ginagamit, it affects the students. And aside from that, yung mga PowerPoint presentations, kailangan makukulay. Because if that's what they like, yan na uso ngayon. Student-centered classrooms are by no means characterized by free for all. These classrooms are goal-based. Students' learning is judged by whether they achieve predetermined, developmentally oriented objectives. In essence, everyone can earn A by mastering the material. My dear students, I know that some of you will say na some students say that, ano ba yan, ma'am? Studies just is just a requirement. Actually, yes, it is. And there's always a required number, required grade, lahat yan may required kasi it is general. Okay, so pag na-master mo yung material, just magiging grade mo. Now, pero sa panahon kasi ngayon, tinitingnan na rin natin na hindi lang doon. In a way that, for example, not all people could draw. Not all people could dance. Not all people are good in math, good in science, and the rest of the subject. That is why, yung mga nagiging valedictorian, they are trying their best. Ba't sila nagiging valedictorian? Hindi naman yung valedictorian na matino. Kasi, although they're not masters of those kind of activities, they know the skill or they mastered the skill. on how to do those different skills, which is very important to the students. Because people learn best when they hear, see, and manipulate variables. The method by which learning occurs is often experiential. This is the beauty of BTVTED. Because as yung sa inyo, kasi I do understand, yung sa TLE na yan, kasi magiging TLE teacher kayo eh. Although, tawag dito, although, yung sa subject nyo, it's actually a little bit hard. Kasi marami siyang mga ipinapakitang, marami siyang imamanipulate na tools. But, whenever you start making your students cook meals, ayan, nagsimula na silang mag-bake, magluto, yung mga processed food, yung mga pickled foods, lahat ginawa na nila, maiintindihan nila yon, and they will enjoy it with the company of their classmates. Because learning is experiential. Okay? Now, next one is physical learning-centered classrooms. It's a condition of the physical structure of the classroom, the immediate environment of the learner. Now, my dear students, we will now discuss the conducive physical learning-centered classroom. Ano nga ba yung physical learning-centered classroom na conducive? Sabi dito, allows maximum interaction between teacher and student and among students. Allows student movement without unnecessary distraction. This is one of the reasons, my dear students, before you begin your classes, you need to tell them to fix everything. Like for example, hindi lang po yan sa demonstration teaching that you will tell your students na everyone kindly arrange your bags, arrange your chairs, make it neat. Hindi lang po yan sa lesson plan. But it is very important that the students would not have any distractions at all. Especially sa inyo, my dear students, yung BTVTED. Meron kayong mga different tools na ginagamit na medyo delikado sa bata. Like for example, pointy objects, yung mga hot objects, yung mga ganon, di ba? So para pagluto, yung mga ganon. So, it is very important that everything is clear. Aside from that, it should be safe. For example, hindi mo pinatabi yung bag, masala-salapit, tapos nadulas yung estudyante. Sino may kasalanan nito? Sino ang teacher nito? Ikaw. Miss blah blah blah, hindi mo ba pinaayos yung gamit ng mga bata? Alam mo namang magpapalaboratory ka, tapos yung mga bag nila nakaharang. Okay. I remember, my dear students, meron daw isang, although this is not for laboratory, kinukwento lang to ng pinsan ko na nangyari sa subject nila. Di ba sa science class, minsan gumagamit sila ng alcohol, a burning alcohol, somehow like that. So ngayon, ang nangyari, yung hindi na paitabi ng teacher, dapat yun, sinasabi naman ng teacher na lahat ng gamit sa science laboratory ilalagay sa isang gilid para hindi maging problem. So ngayon, hindi siya nailagay sa isang gilid. Ang nangyari, nasunog yung backpack ng bata. So, babalik yan, kahit sabihin mo na kasalanan ng bata kasi di niya tinabi. Babalikan si teacher na, what did you do? Bakit? Bakit na hindi mo ba chinek? Okay, babalik na naman tayo sa teacher. That is why there should be no distractions. Allows teacher to survey the whole class. Now, I ask you, what kind of chair arrangement do you want? And you told me the usual, the first one, second one, third one, fourth one. Now, although you have chosen different classroom chairs, wait lang po. Although you chose different classroom chairs, hindi pa din siya Kasi ang iniisip niyo pa din, ma'am kasi pag po yung 4, I could monitor my students. Ma'am kasi kapag yung 1 and 2, nakikita ko po yung estudyante. So, although you have different, but you have the same goal, which is to monitor the students. Aside from that, a conducive physical learning center classroom should be well ventilated, spacious, and adequately lighted, and makes possible rearrangements of chairs as the need arises. I remember my dear students during our college years, meron kaming isang klase. And in this class, meron kaming, grabe yung conducive. Hindi siya conducive. Kasi ganito, yung classroom na yon is a biology class. Now, sa isang room, meron 4 na ceiling fan. Yung ceiling fan na gumagana sa amin, isa. Yung isa na yon umiikot. Pero yung LC hindi. Umiikot lang siya. Yung LC hindi. Tapos yung teacher ko naman, meron siyang PowerPoint. Meron siyang projector. Pero yung projector niya, hindi yung malaki. Yung maliit lang. So, kailangan yung klase, sobrang dilim. Sobrang dilim dapat ng klase so that we could see what's inside the projector. Oo nga, madilim na. Madilim na yung klase. Mainit pa. And of course, panghapon namin siya. So, ang baho na namin. We're not in the best amoy in that time. So, it's really not conducive. Talagang, alam mo yung paglabas mo ng kwarto, para kang lalagnatin. So, that's what we have. And you know, there are some schools, I remember one of my colleagues said before, nung bago lumipat siya sa public school, sabi niya, hindi, yung lumipat na siya sa public school, sabi niya, ang gara daw, nasasad siya doon sa mga bata kasi she's I think elementary teacher, or mga hindi area, mga preschool, mga may nag-donate naman ng electric fan. 60 yung bata inside the room. Imagine, preschool to 60. Tapos may nag-donate na electric fan. Tapos ayaw paggamit sa kanila ng principal kasi lalakas yung kuryente. So, it's very sad. Diba? Meron ka nga electric fan, may nag-donate nga, ayaw naman kasi yung kuryente. Now, classroom routines and procedures are also very important. A teacher who is a facilitator of learning in a learner-centered classroom must be a leader, fully aware of what is happening, and is in control of the classroom proceedings, and yet conveys the message that he or she is interested in the concerns of the student as individuals and the class as a whole. So ano yan? My dear students, sabi dito, expectations, rules, and procedures are made clear, discussed on the first day of class. And this is the reason why, during the first day of class, sinabi ko na sa inyo, ano yung project nyo, ano yung job ng class monitor, ano yung job ng class manager, and whatsoever. Alam nyo na. Alam nyo na kailan kayo magmi-midterm. Alam nyo na kung at the end of the semester, meron kayong 5 midterm, 2 examination, finals, and may 5 quizzes, may 2 exam, may 1 project, required kayong mag-recite. Alam niyo na rin kung kailan ang date ng inyong final exam, alam niyo na yung date ng presentation, kasi at saka, aside from that, you know how you will learn and how you will be graded. Okay? Aside from that, techniques to acknowledge and reinforce acceptable behavior and provide negative consequences are employed. And clear limits for an acceptable behavior established. My dear students, there are some teachers that, my dear students, remember this. Kahit kayo, college na, some of the students, hindi nila alam yung different rules, which is very sad. Kasi may mga teacher na hinahayaan lang sila at hindi sila kinokorek. But as a teacher, we need to tell them, but hindi natin kailangan pagalitan. Like for example, I remember one time, hindi ko makakalimutan. Kasi I was already teaching college during this time. And I know that combing your hair in your classroom while you have discussion is not good. Bawal yan. Kasi nga bawal ka nga mag-sombrero eh. It's a sign of disrespect for your teachers. So ngayon, hindi ko makalimutan yung section na to. Kasi nagsusuklay yung isa ng buhok. Sabi ko, tigilan mo yan. Tinigilan naman. Yung katabi, sumunod, nagsuklay. Pagtalikod ko, nagsusuklay siya ng buhok. Sabi ko, tigilan mo yan, it's not good. Hindi ka dapat nagsusuklay sa klase. Tapos, eto na. Yung katabi pang isang bata, nagsuklay. Sabi, hindi pala. Sabi ko doon sa pangalawa, iba pala. Sabi ko, ikaw, pag nagpangatlo pa yan, talagang magagalit na ako, sabi ko sa kanila. Kasi, sabi ko, teka nga, hindi niyo ba alam na hindi dapat magsuklay sa klase? Tapos sabi nila, ma'am, hindi po. And I was thinking, instead of being mad, kasi pinatawa ko na lang sila, parang gano'n na lang. Tapos natawa kasi yung mga buong klase, instead na siguro yung the way I delivered, hindi ako mukhang galit during that time. Pero sabi nila, hindi nila alam. So I've realized na, ma'am, common sense, di ba, naisipin natin yon. But sometimes, common sense, hindi naman siya hindi sa common. Kaya lang, it's just that may mga teachers kasi that they allowed it to happen na akala na ng bata that's correct. Okay? Aside from that is clear limit, there's a healthy, aside ito pa pala, clear limits for unacceptable behavior are established. Aside from those things, my dear students, time will come that you will be a teacher and hindi natin alam if online pa din yon. Now, pero sa inyo baka kasama kayo sa magli-limited face-to-face because practically sa inyo and you need to use a laboratory. Now, my dear students, for this kind of things, paano ba? Wait lang. When you message your professor, supposedly dapat siya nandun lang sa range ng klase, like 8 to 5. Prior to that, kunwari, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, ganun, hindi na siya magre-reply. Now, during your orientation, sabihin mo dapat yun. As a professor, sabihin mo dapat na, my dear students, please message, I will not entertain any messages pag beyond 5 o'clock. Now, if you will message me, it's fine, but I will reply ng 8 o'clock. Kasi yun lang naman yung pasok. So, yun, okay. Now, some professors, meron kasing mga ibang nabalita sa Facebook, may na-post sa Facebook na professor, na galit siya dun sa bata kasi nag-message sa kanya na hindi mo ba alam na dapat may ganito ganyan. Now, of course, what you could do is, dapat alam ng bata kasi may mga professor, again, na pumapayag. And hindi naman sa inaabuso sila, but because the professor itself ay ganun sila mag-post ng mga bagay, so ganun. So ngayon, as a teacher, kailangan linawin mo sa mga bata na, oh my dear students I will not reply. Pag umuwi na ako sa bahay, hindi na ako nag-entertain ng kahit ano. O yung mga ganun bagay. So the students should know your limitations. Okay? There's a healthy balance between dominance and cooperation. And as a student, kailangan alam nyo, as a teacher, alam nyo dapat kung hanggang, may barrier pa din. There are things na dapat hindi mo ginagawa. A teacher is aware of the needs and different types of learners. A teacher is fully aware that what is happening in the class and students are made responsible for their own behavior. My dear students, ito po, bakit si teacher alam yung mga chismis sa mga estudyante? Ba't alam ni teacher kung sino yung mga magjojowa sa klase? As a teacher, I see, especially ako as an advisor ng mga estudyante ko when I was a teacher in high school, ako gusto ko alam. Hindi ko naman sila yung chinichismis, pero sila mismo yung nagkukwento sa akin. And as for me, I prefer that way. Bakit? They are minors. Sa college, wala akong pakialam. Kasi sa college, you're already 20 plus. Pagpasok nyo ng college, it's either you're already 19, you are legally, o parang ano na kahit even if you have the influence of your parents, 19 na kayo nun 18, 19 na kayo nun. So, you are legal age. But when it comes to high school, junior high school, yung mga, for example, nagbo-boyfriend ng grade 7, grade 8, and you cannot blame them kasi they need proper guidance for that kind of thing. And hinabilin sa'yo siya ng mga magulang. What if hindi mo alam pa, may mga bata pala na maagang pumapasok kasi may ginagawa sila inside the classroom. So as much as possible, since pinagkatiwala sa inyo ng magulang yon and that is your responsibilities, medyo may alam ka doon sa mga nangyayari inside the class. Kaya sinasabihan nila yung mga advisor, may mga satellite, kasi kailangan mong makinig. Kailangan alam mo so that you could properly guide the students kasi hindi pa nila alam yung mga ganon. Why? They ask advice dun sa friends nila na ka-age nila. Or much worse, dun sa mas matanda sa kanila pero maling direction. Aside from that, masasabi ba nila yun sa magulang nila? Of course, not all the details. So as you could see, what we could help our students if we know what's happening inside the class and we could prevent bullying as well. So, may nabubuli na pala yung isang klase so wala ka pang nagagawa, hindi mo pa alam. Diba? It's very hard for that student na yun. The social environment is very important. Learning experience is a product of the interaction between and among teacher and students. That is why the environment of the class must be very healthy. Sobrang healthy dapat. So, paano natin may increase sa academic learning? Maintaining activity flow. Huwag kayo nag-flip-flop. For example, I will give you an example. Sa klase natin, sinabi ko, okay, BTVTED, ang project natin ay teachers pa. Ay, BTVTED after 1 month. I changed my mind na pala, wag na pala yun ang project natin. Now, nakakatuwa ba yun? Hindi. Ako ayoko na ganun eh. Sa totoo lang, I don't like canceling of projects. Hindi ako natutuwa. Or for example, meron ako mga classmates na nasabihin nila, wag na po tayo magpa-report. Ayoko. Ako ayoko. Kasi nakakasira ng diskarte. Inisip mo na kasi yung mga mangyayari, yung mga gagawin mo. Tapos, madadagdag lang siya or mahihinayang. To some students, okay yun. Lalo na pag tamad sila. Okay sa kanila yun. Wala na, ibahin na, mas madali na lang. Tamad sila eh. Pero yung mga estudyante na nagsisikap, na na-excite sa klase mo, tapos iba-iba ka, ang hirap ng i-flow, yung utak mo naka-wired na doon, tapos biglang gano'n. Although, we know that the students should know that they should be open to different changes. But as much as possible, as a teacher, if we want to increase academic learning, we want to make the environment better. So dapat may flow tayo. So like for example, what I did, I actually have this project. Sa Filipino kasi teacher din ako sa junior high. So I have Noli Me Tangere El Filibusterismo. To make this Noli and El Fili exciting, what I did is this. I divided the project into 4. 4 projects siya in one school year. So first grading, second grading, third grading, and fourth grading. Now in the first project, they are required to make, hinati ko sila sa dalawa. So mag-versus this group versus this group. Now, during the first quarter, ang requirement nila is to, of course, I gave them the groups and they will make a movie poster. Yeah. Second quarter, they will make a trailer. Third quarter, they will make a draft of what they will do. And the fourth quarter is the movie. Now, in the first quarter, alam na ng bata kung kailan lahat. Kagaya ng ginawa ko sa inyo. Alam na nila kung ano yung project nila. First, second, third, fourth. And you know, I've seen my students na natutuwa ako kasi alam niyo yung nangyari doon. Yung mga bata, first quarter pa lang, since alam nila na may pag-iipunan sila ng fourth quarter, sabi nila, okay, sige, ganito tayo. Magbigay tayo 5 pesos a day. Ay, a week, 5 pesos a week. So, piso per day siya na bibigay niyo sa amin, tapos ipon natin sa project. So, sobrang excited nila. Ang dami nilang mga gamit na unti-unting ginagawa, tinatahi. And may isang grupo na nakaipon sila ng 30,000. So, ganun magiging kabongga yung kanilang project. And aside from that, naisisingit nila yung project nila within the class. Kasi sa class, dapat pag-shooting lang sila sa loob ng facility. And hanggang 5 o'clock lang sila pwede doon. So ngayon, yung mga bata, pa-dismiss pa lang. Pagka-dismiss, talagang palit. Tapos shoot sila. Alam nila. And they are more excited. At saka, every time that, kasi while having that kind of project, tinuturo ko pa din yung Noli Me Tangere. El Filibusterismo yung Noli Me Tangere. Karamihan ng mga estudyante, natapos na nila yung libro na hindi ko inaano. Kasi na-excite sila, na kailangan nilang, na-excite sila kasi yun yung character nila. Na-excite sila. So, kayo, at teachers ng BTVTED, actually, while discussing this to you, nakakaisip ako ng project sa inyo. Kasi dapat siya. Kaya kailangan, pag titignan niyo yung syllabus niyo, for example, magtuturo ka, titignan mo na siya in a big level. Kunwari, meron ka nung per grading, tapos big ano mo na siya. Like, for example, iba nakikita ko kasi sa BTVTED, sa TLE kasi, yung friend ko is a food major. Foods talaga siya. So, tinitingnan ko siya, may mga first quarter, ito yung gagawin niya. Second quarter, third quarter, ito yung gagawin niya. So, naisip ko lang, pwede pala, sa first quarter, ito yung gagawin ng mga bata para magpe-prepare sila ng meal, ganyan. Second quarter, ganito. Third. Tapos hanggang sa, paano kaya pag fourth quarter, parang pa-catering style ang gagawin nila. Yung mga ganon, pahirap siya ng pahirap, pero pa-step ng pa-step. Therefore, yung mga natututunan nila, parang alam nila na, okay, at the end of our for example, ang first quarter, o tinuro mo kung paano mag-fold ng napkin, may mga ganun bang keme. Tapos hanggang sa pag ganon, alam ng bata from first grading pa lang, na ang fourth grading nila, magkakaroon sila ng mini catering. So, dun pa lang nag-iipon na sila, nag-i-imagine na sila ng magiging itsura. So, na-excite sila. So, kayo, yung lesson nyo, nandito pa lang, tapos sila, nandun na, ay, kasi nakaka-excite siya. And of course, minimizing the transition time. So, like sa atin, di ba, meron tayong may introduction, marami tayong lessons sa isang unit. Tapos tinatapos natin para just in case mawala ng pasok, magkaroon ng academic something, hindi tayo matatapos natin yung module. Kasi importanteng matapos yung module dahil prof ed subject to. So, ang gagawin natin is, as a teacher, sa dami natin ginagawa, kailangan nalalawan ng bata. Meron tayong intro, conclusion. Conclusion. So, meron tayong mga ganon. Meron tayong motivation, meron tayong recitation, and whatsoever, na hindi siya matagal, mabilisan siya, para hindi siya nakakainip. Aside from that, we also need to have, the students should have to be accountable of their own work. Pag maganda, maganda. Pag pangit, pangit. Next is creating, may nag-chat ba? Okay. May nadinig kasi. Anyways, balik tayo. Baka kasi, okay. So, creating a motivating learning environment. Classroom organization is very important. Kailangan, the classroom is very organized. Ang dami namang ways to organize a classroom. But, it's very important kasi talaga na maayos at malinis. Mas madali, mas makaka-invite kasi kapag, kunwari, maayos yung classroom. Of course, to ensure the furniture arrangement promotes learning opportunities. Now, time will come, pagkakatiwala sa inyo yung laboratory ng TLE laboratory. So, as a teacher, kailangan yung room nyo, ayusin nyo. Kailangan yung furniture, ayos na ayos siya. Kasi unang-una naka-account sa inyo yun eh. Pag may nawala, kayo ang may kasalanan. Kayo ang sisisihin. So, kailangan maayos yung pagkakalagay. Having a seating chart is also good. Dito sa seating chart, makikita mo kasi, lalo sa college kasi sa face-to-face, uso yan. Dito sa seating chart, madali mong mamamonitor yung bata. Oy, teka, absent ka. Ba't ka absent? Recitation, hindi ka nagre-recite. So, mas madali mo siyang mamamonitor. Kasi mas makikita, mas matutulungan mo sila. Uy, teka, parang napansin ko, lagi kang absent. Nakalagay dito, may 3 ka ng absent, ay may 2 ka na. Pag nagpangatlo ka, drop ka na. Tama, ganun. Bulletin, maintain plans for materials, assignment, engagement. So, the teacher, elementary, ang dami niyang folder, hinihingan niya kami ng folder, tapos maayos na maayos yung pagdedikit nun. So every time na may quizzes kami, nandun yon. My dear students, nakaalam ng mga bata yun, as in maayos, organize siya. And the last one is create bulletin boards that foster learning. Kailangan maganda yung bulletin boards. And my dear students, the students loves to be recognized. Kahit high school sila, na nare-recognize sila sa gawa nila. It's very important. Kasi may iba sabi, magkakaroon din yung pangalan ko dyan. Ganun. Nalalagay ko din yung gawa ko dyan. So, teachers should think about how they will organize the classroom physical space by considering what type of instructional activities students will mainly engage in. Pag binigyan kayo ng mga, for example, pag binigyan kayo ng classroom, tapos sabi nila, oh, Miss Azucena, ikaw ang mag-design ng classroom mo. So, ngayon, ang handle ni Miss Azucena daw, kunwari, grade 9. So, you could ask, you could check the books of grade 9, ano ba yung mga pag-aaralan nila na you could utilize para may makikita pa lang ng bata yung classroom. He or she will expect what classroom, what will we do? Or for example, kunwari naman, nasa laboratory na kayo, kunwari si Maritoni. Maritoni, you will be assigned with the home economics room. So ngayon, ano mga pwede kong designs na ilagay? Iniisip ni Maritoni. Ito, alam ko na. Yung mga projects na mga bata na gagawin, yung mga best projects, ayun. So sometimes, inilalagay natin yun doon. Now, I have here a picture of the classroom of, nag-viral classroom siya sa Facebook. I don't know if nakita niyo to. Nakita ko to sa DepEd Tambay. Sa Teachers Be Like. Okay, so ito yung classroom ni Ma'am. So, tingnan natin. Karoon tayo ng tour. My dear students, ito pala, meron akong, nakita ko tong technique na to after ko magkaroon ng demonstration teaching. Kasi hindi ko siya gets. Sabi ko, bakit pa may kurti-kurtina? I am very intrigued. Pag pala nagdi-discuss yung iba, para daw mabawasan yung time. Kasi nga, di ba, pag kunwari nagdidikit-dikit ka, yung time mo sa pagtanggal ng dikit, matagal. So ngayon, ang ginagawa nila is nakaganito, nakakortina. Like for example daw ito, kunwari nag-divide sa 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, ibubuksan mo tong part ng kortina na to. Nandiyan na yung mga nakadikit mo activity. I-discuss mo. So, ngayon, lahat ng bata, nakatutok lang sila dito sa part na to. Now, sasara mo siya. Ito naman ang bubuksan mo. Yung pangatlong window. Same. Sasara mo ulit. Buksan mo to. Sasara, bukas. At ito daw yung assignment. So, isa-isang board, na-discuss mo na siya from motivation, body, at saka assignment. Na dire-diretso na bukas-sara ka na lang. Which is better kesa daw dikit, baba, dikit, baba, dikit, baba. So, yun. Yun yung style ng iba. As you can see, the teacher also, meron siya mga module. Ayan. So, yung mga yan. Also have the different documents needed. Plantita din si ma'am. This is the teacher. We also have the health corner, teacher's table. Hindi ko alam kung ba't meron siyang coffee place. And this also are also important. The affirmation of the students. When your students, maganda na naglalagay tayo dito that I believe in you, I trust in you, you are listened to, you are cared for, you are important, and you will succeed. Love, Mrs. Jane Cesar. So, my dear students, itong ganitong klaseng affirmation ay importante sa bata. And dapat hindi lang siya nakasulat, but rather, napaparamdam mo rin sa bata itong mga bagay na ito. Kasi you will help them grow. And my dear students, alam nyo, yung pag pinagkatiwala, sometimes, some of my students or some of the successful people in the world, may isang tao lang na nagtiwala sa kanila, yung teacher nila. And they're always reminded na itong tao na to, nagtiwala to, hindi ako iniwan ito. Ito yung time na walang nagtiwala sa akin, pero nagtiwala siya sa akin. So I will, hindi ko siya iyan. So ayun, minsan yun ang impact ng teacher. Yung mga nangyayari sa mga television, some teacher stories na mga ganon, it really happens in real life. Next is the reading corner. So reading corner, my dear students, actually importante siya. Kaya lang, problema nga kasi, masikip. As you can see with this one, ilan yung tables niya? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So, let's say na nasa 12 to kung ito yung pagbabasihan. Maluwag. Kaya marami ka mailalagay talaga. Reading corner, kala natin hindi siya okay, ano? Pero maganda pala na meron siya. Kasi nakita ko sa estudyante ko, nung nag-put up ako ng reading corner, nagbabasa talaga sila. Nakaupo sila sa mats, siguro dito or dito, nakaupo sila and then nagbabasa sila. Now, classroom arrangement, we have, nasabi nyo na kanina, meron tayo niyan, the auditorium style, the face-to-face, the offset style, seminar style, and cluster style. So each arrangement, it depends upon what you want. Okay? So, nakadepende yan sa teacher, sa anong activity, and whatsoever. Now, lahat, ang parent, may mga different classroom, may mga style sila na parenting. Not just the parent, but also the teachers. We have 3 major classroom management style. We have the authoritative, authoritarian, and permissive. So, to discuss this, I will give you a story. Okay? Meron daw na kailangan magkaroon ng Nutri-Jingle. Okay? Meron 3 section na maglalaban-laban. Yung isa, authoritative classroom style ang gamit ng teacher, yung isa authoritarian, yung isa permissive. So authoritative, paano niya i-handle na meron ng paano i-handle ni teacher na authoritative style na mag-ano siya, na siya yung okay. So paano handle ng authoritative style yung Nutri-Jingle? Okay, class, what do you want to do? Okay, sige. Anong ideas meron kayo? O anong gusto niyo gawin natin? Si authoritative style, nandun lang siya sa klase, tumutulong siya, pero hinahayaan niya yung estudyante to decide, tapos siya lang yung nagsasabi na things to improve, things na pwedeng itanggal, pero ang nag-iisip is the students. Now, let us have the authoritarian style. Okay, class, meron daw tayong Nutri-Jingle. Okay. I already have a song. I already made a song. O ikaw, kunwari si Sito, ikaw ang kakanta kasi nadinig ko yung boses mo maganda. O kayo magsasayaw, ito yung step. O gayahin niyo yan. Tapos, yun si authoritarian. Si permissive naman, o sige, bahala na kayo. Kayang-kaya nyo na yan. At hindi na siya tumulong. Ngayon, sa Nutri-Jingle, habang nagtatrabaho yung mga bata, let's say na, kung what if sino yung manalo. Pag nanalo si authoritative class, sobrang saya ng bata. Bakit? Kasi pinaghirapan nila yun eh. Sobrang silang thankful sa'yo kasi guide ka. Pero sobrang silang saya kasi pinaghirapan nila yun. Ngayon, pagdating sa the following grade, pag kunwari grade 7 sila, naging grade 8 sila. Dahil sila yung nag-isip ng mga activity at tinulungan mo lamang sila, ano yan? Ang gagawin yan, parang mas i-level up nila. Sabi, mas le-level up natin ang sayaw natin. Yun. Pag naman, si authoritarian ang kunwari nanalo yung section nila, masaya din yung bata, nanalo sila. Kaya nga lang, the problem is, hindi sila super saya. Ma'am, paano mo naman nasabi? Kasi iba yung saya na ikaw ang naghirap. Ikaw yung nag-isip from scratch to finish. Eh kaso hindi naman ikaw ang nag-isip. Ang pinakamasaya dyan, authoritarian. Kasi yung mga teachers na authoritarian, kasi magaling kasi. Parang ganon. Pero ang totoo, hindi magiging super saya yung mga bata. And after nun, nanalo nga sila, the following year, magsisimula sila. What if, kunwari, walang magli-lead sa kanila? Walang authoritative or permissive yung teacher? Mahirapan. And last one, sa permissive naman. So, mawawalan sila ng dahil sila bahala sila, neglected. Yan yung mga permissive style teachers. Pag yan ang klase ng teachers, dyan naiinis yung mga bata kasi feeling nila they are neglected. So, yun yung magiging yung cons ng permissive style. Kasi mababa yung self-confidence nila kasi usually yan, pag kasi supportive ang advisor, parang sila, pag nag-perform sila, go, yeah, siya. Nakikita ko sila yung mga ganun eh. Pero pag hindi yung supportive yung advisor, parang ang tamlay-tamlay, hindi nila alam kung ano yung tama, ano yung mali. So, yun yung problem. Now, let us now have the learner-centered classroom roles and responsibilities. So then, sa bawat learning, dahil nga sa learner-centered na tayo, each one of us, yung teacher at saka yung estudyante, may mga different responsibilities. Now, the roles of the teacher systematically change. Sila yung namumuno. Now, they are more of the facilitator. Ngayon, the role and responsibilities of a teacher is number one, building the student-centered classroom, of course. Lahat ng mga discuss natin. Number two, creating a safe environment. My dear students, this is one of the reasons why I want to tell you that avoid relationship with teacher-student during na sila ay estudyante pa. Not just because bawal, pero kasi it will not create a safe environment, not just for you, but also for the students. Like for example, yung bata na nalaman ng mga kaklase na may relationship kayo, lahat ng achievements niya ay hindi nakikilalanin na achievements niya, but rather tinulungan mo. Maraming sa mga nagiging ng teacher ay nabubuli. So it's not safe anymore with the students. Hindi rin siya safe sa'yo kasi pag naghiwalay kayo ng bata or nagkukwento yung bata, o kaya may ginawa kang kasalanan, magagalit sa'yo yung mga estudyante. Parang whatsoever ganon. And of course, yung sa ibang bata naman na parang iiwasan ka na. O kaya papaiwas yung mga bata sa'yo. They will feel na, baka si sir, baka si ma'am nagkakaganto, ganyan. So that is a problem. Okay? So as much as possible, create a safe environment. And aside from that, as a teacher, every time na may marami kasi mga bullies, mga ganon. So as much as possible, you will always create a safe environment na everyone could commit, everyone in class, pwede tayo magkamali. And it's fine. Kaya pag kunwari, nagkamali yung bata, nag-recite sa'yo, tapos nagkamali, tapos binuli mo, hindi dapat ganon. Or kailangan, pag kunwari pinagtawa ng kaklase, hindi mo siya dapat na sabi, hindi kayo dapat natatawa sa mga ganitong bagay kasi ganito, kasi ganyan. Yun. And last one is communicating learning goals. Aside from that, meron pa providing structured feedback. Like for example, sa BTVTED, sabihin mo, I remember, ano ba yung ginawa ng mga bata? Tonto ako dun sa mga bata. Kasi, meron sila, parang gagawa sila ng cake. Ay, hindi cake. Hindi cake yun. Leche flan ata. Tonto ako. Kasi yung leche flan nila, mukhang scrambled egg. Tapos ako ng tawa. Kasi nga, pangit. No, alam ko mali yung ginawa ko. So, what the students ko do, instead of sabihin, ano ba yan, mukhang scrambled egg yung leche flan nyo? Di maganda itsura. Pero masarap, parang ganon. What you could do is, you could tell them how to make it better. And up next time, pag gagawa ka ng leche plan, dapat sana ganituhin mo. Pinaghihiwalay yung ganito. Ganito yung halo, ganito yun. So, sinasabi mo sa kanila how to make it right. Or for example, nagpe-perform sila. Ang pangit. Sabi ko, ang pangit ng gawa mo Parang ganon. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Sabihin mo sa kanila, bakit pangit yung gawa mo? And next time, instead of, for example, pangit sumayaw, ano ba naman yan? Mukha kang ganito. Hindi ganon. Tapos sabihin mo, anak, try mo kaya na medyo i-ganon ng konti. Ayan. Tapos pag ganon mo, yung kamay mo, i-forward mo ng konti. Ayan. Tapos medyo lambutan mo. Ayan. Very good. Ayan. Ganyan. Ganyan gawin mo. Okay. From the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4. Di gagawin ng bata yung sinabi mo na i-improve niya na medyo kikembutan niya, tapos gaganon-ganon. So at least yun, the students understand ano yung gagawin ko. Okay? So next, get the students involved in their performance evaluation. Every time na meron demo, si Sir RS, lagi niyang tinatanong yung bata na, how will you rate your demonstration teaching? Sabi niya lagi sa ST ko. Tapos some of my STs will say, Ma'am, 9. Kasi ang galing ko po. Parang ganun. Nakakatuwa yung ganun kasi they're very confident kasi pinaghandaan niya. Then, there was a student who said 6. Sabi ko, bakit 6? Kasi daw hindi siya nakapaghanda, kasi ganito, kasi ganyan. And some of the students, okay, sige, you see that your score for yourself is 6. Okay. But, how can you make it better? So, minsan ganun, kaya ini-evaluate mo sila, tapos involve sila dun sa kanilang performance. And of course, they should know responsibilities. Hindi lang sa bahay, but also in the students. Allow students to share in decision-making and give students opportunity to lead. My dear students, there are some people na tahimik lang sila and they're very shy to become a leader. But some people are very good leader. Just give them a chance. And okay, ano naman yung role ng isang learner? A learner naman, it should create products that are meaningful to them, confidently amplifying their voices, each in their own unique and genuine styles, thinking with complexity and applying knowledge and skills to new situations. So yun yung mga bagay na ginagawa ng learners. And aside from that, using tools to communicate in compelling ways, reflecting on their learning experiences through discovery, and should take ownership of the learning process. So yun dapat yung ginagawa ng mga student in a learner-centered environment. Now, I have here another question. Lesson 3 na tayo. Malapit na tayo matapos. Don't worry. So, I have 2 questions and I want you to choose one. The first question is discipline punishment? And the second question is, do you have stories about corporal punishment? The stories may not be from you. The stories may be from your parents or from other people. Okay? So, pwedeng kahit kay Nino. So, while you are digesting your answers, dito sa punishment and ang dami ko na-discover na hindi maganda. Na akala ko, since ang corporal punishment ay hindi na siya kagaya dati, hindi naman sa walang napapalo or whatsoever, pero ang dami palang mga bata na nakaranas ng sobrang corporal punishment na I think it's below the belt. Like for example, may mga iba kinalabugan ng libro. May iba hinagisa ng tsinelas ng teacher na hindi yung tsinelas ng mga, yung paang tribu, yung mabigat. Okay? Sabi ko, ano ba yan? Sabi ko, bakit ganyan? Bakit ganyan yung nangyayari? So sa inyo, may mga iba inapakan, binato ng monoblock. So dami mga stories ko na discover with my students, which is very sad. Kasi may mga iba sa kanila lumipat kasi ganun ang nangyari sa kanila. So now I will ask you, how about you? Can you answer either question number 1 or question number 2? Sige. Anyone? Meron po bang gustong mag-recite? Wala po ba? Okay. So we will start with Maritoni. Si Maritoni unang nag-raise ng hands.
Ayun po, ma'am. Prefer ko po is yung discipline punishment. Kasi po, i-apply ko to bilang isang magiging teacher po. Hindi pa po ako nagiging nanay, pero based on my observation sa mga kaibigan kong may anak, yung mga laging nananakit po, which is yung corporal punishment, is hindi na po nakikinig yung bata sa simpleng saway na lang. Unless masaktan mo siya physically. Hindi katulad po ng mga discipline punishment, nasisitsitan mo lang. Alam na po agad nila na hindi na tama yung ginagawa nila. Ang nangyayari po, tuloy yung mga nasanay sa corporal punishment is parang nagiging immune na po sila. Kaya, kailangan mo silang saktan bago pa sila sumunod.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Isang sit-sit-out. Minsan ganun Okay. Nakakatakot din yun. Pero at least alam nila na hindi nila dapat gawin. How about the others? Christine.
Ano po, din pong discipline management din po, ma'am. Kasi po, hindi po nag-work sa bata yung saktan po. Parang mas dadalhin pa po nila yun hanggang pagtanda at saka maaari pong may epekto po sa kanila dahil po dun sa pananakit po. Ngayon.
Okay. Tama, Christine. Sometimes, yung mga pananakit, yung iba sabi nga nila na yung discipline ay, okay lang yung discipline, pero yung punishment, parang, sobrang pananakit yung ginawa mo, parang, hindi na nila ma-understand kung ano yung ginawa na nilang mali. Ang nararamdaman na lang nila is kung ano yung sakit na idinulot nung, punishment mo. How about the others? Anyone? Wala na? Katrina?
Yung sa ano po is discipline a punishment, yung sasagutin ko. Para po sa akin, hindi po siya punishment kasi kaya lang naman po nila dinidiscipline kasi para po sa ikabubuti din ng bata para hindi na po parang maulit ganun. May iba naman po na parang nadadaan naman po sila pag pinagsasabihan ganun. Though depende pa rin po siya sa parang kung paano nga i-disiplina ng teacher yung estudyante kasi kagaya nga po nung sinasabi niyo may iba po na parang sumusobra po sila sa pagdidisiplina dun sa mga student nila. Ganun po.
Okay, may mga iba na sumusobra ang pagdidisiplina sa kanilang mga student. Okay, how about the others? Meron ba? After ni Katrina? Jeline!
Yung dun din po sa is discipline punishment. Para po sa akin, hindi po punishment yung discipline kasi po napakarami pong, there are many ways po on how to discipline a child or a student. Kagaya nga po nung sinabi ni Katrina, pwede po natin kausapin yung bata ng maayos or ipaliwanag sa kanya kung ano po yung mali niya. In a way na hindi po natin sasaktan or in a way na hindi po matotraumatize yung bata sa tuwing dinidiscipline po siya.
Tama, huwag naman yung matraumatize. Grabe naman yung nangyayari. Luis Frank.
Ma'am, andun na po halos yung sagot. Pero po may dadagdag lang po ako. Depende din po kasi sa tao yun kung paano po i-disiplina po nila yung bata o paano po sila magdidisiplina ng bata. Kasi po hindi naman po kasi lahat tayo alam kung paano disiplinahin yung bata. Kasi po, kailangan din po natin silang kabisaduhin kung ano yung way na mas maganda para disiplinahin po sila.
Okay, that's good, Mr. Luis. Kailangan natin malaman kung ano yung mas effective. Kasi sometimes, kagaya nga sabi ng kaklase mo, ma'am, hindi na po kasi effective yung pananakit. Tama nga naman yun, But to some people nga, ang galing sometimes yung pananakit hindi na effective, pero sometimes yung ganun lang, alam na ng bata, hindi na siya dapat gumalaw. Okay. And I think, Mama Susena, I think you've raised your hand.
Ma'am, ganun din po ma'am sa akin yung discipline po. Kasi sa panahon po ngayon ay parang pinagbabawal na po yung corporal punishment kasi medyo na po daw yun sa ng bata. Tapos yung sa discipline kasi kailangan aralin mo rin yung yung anak mo or yung estudyante na kung paano sila i-handle yung pagdisiplina din sa kanila. Yan lang po.
Okay. Thank you, Ma'am Susena. So, you share different opinions about discipline and punishment. And I'm happy na medyo walang kwento sa inyo na about dun sa karanasan nila sa discipline and punishment. Kasi talagang sobra akong nalukot sa mga estudyante ko. Yung mga pinagagawa sa kanila punishment when they were younger, not by their parents but their teachers. May iba nga, sabi ko, uy, teka, parang hindi na punishment yan, parang sexual harassment na yung level na yan. Okay? So may mga napalo, may mga kung ano-anong bagay na nakakalungkot. So, now, a while ago, you've mentioned, actually tama yung lahat ng minention yun ng role of discipline in learner, non-discipline in punishment. Discipline refers to the practice of teaching or training a person to obey rules or have a code of behavior, and in short and long term. While punishment naman is to control the children's behavior. Discipline is meant to develop their behavior. So magkaiba sila na magkapareho. Discipline kasi is, at the end of the day, kunwari sa diet, change of lifestyle. So hindi ka na pwedeng kumain ng masyadong madami, dinidisiplina mo yung sarili mo. You are practicing different things. Magkaiba siya na punishment. Now, there are, it is one of the things that the discipline should be into is number one, is focus on correcting and educating. Hindi, nakafocus ka dapat sa, ba't mo siya hindi naman pinalo, ginulpi mo. Ba't mo ginulpi yung bata? Kasi hindi nakapagpasa ng assignment. Gulpi ba dapat doon? Okay? Hindi ba dapat hindi naman ganun kabigat? Okay? So, promote responsibility of self-discipline. Kaya nga kailangan more on talking. Kaya kung pwede naman siguro yung konting pero wag naman yung bugbog. Never undermine the compromise the dignity of the learner or educator. So, as a teacher, hindi natin pwede na, kunwari, I remember meron sa balita, grabe yung balita na yun. Pinaghubad nila yung mga bata na babae sa harap ng klase. Kaya hindi siya maganda. Sabi ko, grabe itong taong to, grabe itong teacher na to. So, wag naman po ganon. Hindi po disiplina yung ganon na pinaghubad sila ng blouse. Okay? So, classroom discipline can be negative or positive. So, pero may mga negative discipline sila. It focuses on the punishment. So, dapat hindi ganon. Dapat hindi natin nasaktan ang isang bata. So, may mga different examples of negative discipline. So, corporal punishment, kagaya ng hitting, smacking, slapping, spanking, whip, stick, shoe, wooden, and other implements. Sinampal mo yung bata, pinalo mo, gamit kung ano yung makuha mo, kicking, shaking, throwing, pinching, scratching, biting, burning. So, lahat yan. Hindi dapat siya nangyayari. And forcing children to stay in uncomfortable positions, forcing children to swallow spices, or washing their mouths with soap. So, do not do that to these children. And aside from that, minsan, meron tayong tinatawag na psychological discomfort. Like, for example, sarcasm. Yung bata na pag inanuhan mo sila sobrang sarcasm. Threat, sige, babagsak kita. Name calling, like for example, hoy, kuto, kasi may kuto siya, gaganunin mo. Hindi dapat gano'n. Hindi dapat sila nagsisimula yan. Yelling, pinagsisigaw-sigawan mo yung mga bata. Magkaiba yung nag-uutos ka. Magkaiba yung sa pinagsisigaw-sigawan mo. And of course, humiliating actions na hindi dapat nararanasan ng mga bata. Yun. So, meron tayong tinatawag na positive discipline. So, positive discipline, mas okay siya. So, one is collaborative classroom norms. So norms are patterns or traits characterized as a typical usual for a group of other people. So gagawa ka ng different norms. Now, sa mga norms, pwede nyo pagkasandaan ng mga teacher. Like for example, you could develop a classroom code of conduct. Ito pwede to na hindi lang ikaw, pero hati-hati kayo ng estudyante gagawa. So in a classroom, a learner must all be on time for lesson. Like for example, ikaw yung teacher ng pag sa online class, syempre dapat mag-eat. Pag naman ikaw yung teacher ng bata, pag ikaw naman ay teacher ng bata during the first period of class, after recess and after lunch, ayan, pwede mo sila yan. Learner must raise a hand when he or she wants to speak. Learner must listen when other students are speaking. Learner should talk quietly when working in groups, and learner must try his or her best to always do homework. So those are the different examples of the rules for learners na pwede nilang gawin. Natutuwa sila kapag kasama sa teacher. Sa teacher naman, the teacher must arrive on time for the lesson. Matutuwa sila laging maaga. Teacher must be well prepared of the lesson. Teacher must try his or her best to make lessons fun and interesting. So, lagi ka nag-iisip ng activities, ng games to make it interesting. Teacher must be patient and help learners when they don't understand something. And of course, the teacher must be fair, hear all sides of the story, and do not have favorites. When your students yung favorites, hindi siya maiiwasan. Ba't pa ako nagkaka-favorite? Sige. Ba't nagkaka-favorite ang teacher? Let's say in class, sa class, bakit mga magiging favorite class ka? Isang class paborito mo kasi lagi silang nagsasagot, lagi silang present, tapos hindi sila nalilate, tapos mataas yung scores ng sa exam. Madali silang turuan in short. Now, yung isang section, laging walang nagre-recite, nakakaantok sila, tapos na kahit anong gawin mo, ang daming late. So, syempre, hindi sila yung magiging favorite mo. Kasi, ang nahihirapan ka sa kanila eh. But what you could do is you will be more challenged. Isip ka, ano kaya pwede kong gawain para maparecite itong mga to? Okay, so pwedeng ganon. Now, ganon din. Kung sa section ganon din sa estudyante. Yung mismong estudyante. Like for example, pwede rin naman because of physical. Maamoy mukha niya, mukha siyang anghel, or napakabait niya, hindi makabasag pinggan, na pogi, maganda. So, minsan may mga ganun. But as a teacher, as much as possible, hindi dapat nararamdaman ng bata na special siya or nung section na special siya. At yung isang na hindi sila special, yung section or yung mismong ibang bata. Huwag ganun. Logical consequences, lahat ng bagay ay letting students experience the natural or logical consequences of their action is one way of teaching discipline. Huwag natin masyadong kunwari na lang, parang iniiwas natin na maranasan nila na masaktan or na na dapat hindi. Okay. Next is consistent application. Like, for example, ngayon, nari sa atin sa college, sabi sa Mineses campus, kunwari, okay, bawal ang hikaw sa lalaki. Mag-check. Ayan, mag-check daw. So, ngayon, pumasok si ma'am. First day of class. O, yan, after implementing these rules, chinek niya. Ay, may hikaw si RJ. Okay. Tapos sa following, nagtanggal na si RJ na hikaw. Tapos walang sumita. Walang nag-inspect. Tapos hanggang sa the following, merong surprise inspection. Tapos sa following month, at nalipas na ang months, hindi na nila chinecheck. Pabalik na yung hikaw nun. And those people na, kunwari, nagsara yung tenga nila, kasi nga, kakaantay, mga whatsoever. Ganun. May inis sila dun sa teacher kasi hindi siya consistent. Kailangan consistent lagi. Kasi, kahit naman sa any relationship, di ba, gusto natin na consistent. Because yung utak ng bata, hindi siya paputol-putol. Now, aside from that, some education agencies provided some suggestions or ways to respond to misbehavior. Sabi dito, pwede tayo magkaroon ng warning, verbal feedback. Supervised school work will contribute to the learners at school. For example, pwede silang additional workloads, ganon. Demerits, like for example, A+ siya, gagawin mo na lang siyang A- or B sa kanyang card. Performing tasks that compensate or benefit the injured party. Like for example, sa library, pwede kang pinagpapabalot-balot mo sila ng mga ganon, pinaglinis mo sila. Pero wag naman CR. I don't think it's good. Ay, hindi naman masyadong madumi. Replacement of damage and property. I remember one of my classmates. Totoo ako magkakwento ko to. Kasi nag-CR siya. Grade 3 lang ata kami nun. Mataba yung classmate ko nun na lalaki. Di ba sa lalaki, iba yung CR nila. Yung, basta iba yung CR. Yung urinating something nila. Ngayon, pagbalik niya sa classroom, natatakot siya. Tapos, ang nangyari, sinakyan niya pala yun. Sinakyan niya, sumakay siya doon. Tapos ayun, nasira. So, pinalitan nila. Another thing when I was teaching in high school, meron akong estudyante na nagdala ng speaker sa klase. Tapos, nasira. Kasi sa inis niya, galit siya. Sinuntok niya yung wall. Eh, yung wall namin na yun, hindi naman semento. Parang ano siya, yung ewan ko nung tawag sa wall na yun. Pero ano siya, plywood siya, pero hindi yung matigas. So ngayon, nagulat yung kabilang section. Yung section namin, nagulat. Kasi nga, nagalit, sinuntok yun. Nagulat din yung kabilang section kasi may bumakat na kamao na section nila. Tapos malakas may kabog na gano'n. So, ang ginawa namin is pina-replace. Replace niya yung sinira niya. Okay? Detention is also another thing. And suspension of school activities. May dear students, may mga hindi nakakagraduate. May mga hindi nakakakit ng stage during graduation kasi nakasuspend sila. Okay. So teacher should think about some of these questions. So, when should the teacher call home to parents? Baka mamaya, medyo malala na, hindi ka pa tumatawag. When should teachers send the student to the office? What consequences does the teacher have for minor infractions? How should the teacher address repeated misbehaviors? How should the teacher acknowledge and encourage exceptional actions? And should the teacher track any of this? So yun yung mga different things na dapat inaano ng mga teacher. Student-specific, student discipline is complicated process which involves a lot of people, all school staff, the students, and their parents. It may mean something very different to people from different backgrounds. So you need to always ensure them. Okay. What else? Time for resolutions. So meron tayo dapat na may routines ang teacher na paano mag-develop ng resolution. Like for example, ano yung pwedeng gawin para mapagbati yung mga bata. Maganda rin yung ganon. Some teachers, meron silang few minutes into the morning meeting to closing and meeting of the class. Like for example, sa akin sa advisory ko, I always meet them, kinakamusta ko sila. Tapos pag may nag-arise na problem, we are trying our best to settle it down as adults. Yun. So pwede yan. Aside from that, pwede tayo magkaroon ng suggestion box or freedom board. But when it comes to freedom board, kailangan nyo siyang i-monitor. Please monitor the freedom board kasi yung freedom board, baka mamaya may nabubuli na kung ano-ano sinasabi. So yun. Next is have a conflict resolution process. And of course, some elementary teachers have the peace table. Pinagtatabi yung mga magkakaaway. Calm spaces are also good kasi parang yung kanina may coffee shop, parang doon ka lang na parang galit na galit ka, upo ka doon. And of course, that's it. Do you have any questions? May question po ba kayo? May question ba tayo?
Wala po, ma'am.
Okay. So, if you don't have any question, shall I... Yes, Maritoni.
Hindi po siya connect sa topic natin today.
Okay.